Welcome to the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group. Our mission is the conservation and better understanding of whales, dolphins and porpoises in Irish waters through study, education and interpretation.
We coordinate all Ireland's stranding and sighting schemes to learn what species occur where and when. This helps us to develop conservation policies and strategies, but also to help people go out and see these magnificent creatures in Irish waters for themselves.
We run our research vessel Celtic Myths for our members to sail on and learn how to identify and record whales, dolphins and porpoises in Ireland.
Our local groups are made up of lots of different people with a shared passion for whales and dolphins in Ireland and the oceans. We run many long-term projects, including the Shannon Dolphins and Whale Track Ireland.
Our work is also international. We have travelled to Iceland and Cabo Verde as we share whale populations with these island nations.
Our consulting wing provides specialist services to inform management and industry and generates income to support our work.
The island of Ireland is only 10% of the whole of Ireland. The other 90% is a marine environment and home to some of the most amazing marine wildlife in the world.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Science Week 2024. The theme of Science Week for 2024 is regeneration. And in order to face the challenges that lie ahead, we're moving forward by building on what we have explored in the past. From protecting nature, creating more sustainable approaches to materials and energy supply, and developing new solutions for health and healing, it's time to reimagine our approaches and grow our shared strengths. So my name is Claire Kelly and I'm the Education and Outreach Officer with the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group. We have Frances Birmingham here, which is our Membership Officer, and our special guest tonight, which will be taking a deep dive into citizen science, is Padraig Cooley, our Sightings Officer. So if we're ready to go, we can pass you over to Padraig. Welcome, Padraig.
Thanks very much, ladies. I live too far away to be in the studio in the back end of West Cork, but thanks for inviting me. But wow, that's a great little video, isn't it? It would make you want to join the group almost and become actively involved. It's just amazing to see a 2-minute summary of everything that the group does and has done over the years. So anyway, let's have a quick look at my role as a sightings officer. And we'll hopefully it will encourage members or people who aren't members to become members, and people who are members and who aren't really reporting anything to grab those binoculars and get up off your backsides and sit up on a headland or get out in a boat and start recording whales, dolphins and porpoises. And that's essentially what we do. Cetaceans and basking sharks. We've always historically included the basking shark kind of as an honorary whale, if you like. Yeah. So Science Week. So let's just have a quick look at. I took my daughter out last week on a trip. You can see these visuals, okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had this amazing encounter with fin whales, the planet's second biggest whale. And whenever you see a fin whale, they more often than not they'll have a phalanx of common dolphins bow riding them, much in the same way you have dolphins bow riding a boat. So we were really fortunate. It's actually been really quiet down here in West Cork for the last couple of months. It's probably had the worst season that any of the boatmen can remember for whale sightings. So we consider ourselves quite fortunate to have encountered the mighty fin whale, second only to the blue whale. And there's a number of places around the country right now where these people are seeing fin whales. We can talk about that in a moment. Our colleague Nick Massett, who will be on Wednesday, took this picture during the week, which of course is of a humpback whale in the background, but another dolphin putting his face in there for a little cameo. So whenever you see large whales, you more often than not, they will be accompanied in particular by these fellows, the short-beaked common dolphins. And still not quite sure why, but it is likely that they're feeding on the same species of fish, and that it could well be that the dolphins are doing all the actual hard work and gathering up a bait ball, and then comes in the big grazer, the fin whale or the humpback whale, and just one mouthful and it's all gone. It's also possible that the common dolphins are feeding on the scraps left over, like the sand eels or the sprats or the sories, whatever the large whale is feeding on, that fall out between the baleen plates, that the dolphins may well be using that as an easy way to forage. Up in Donegal Bay is probably the big story at the moment, where in the last 3 weeks there have been some amazing sightings. And of course, the reason we have whales in our waters is that our waters are at these latitudes are feeding grounds for our large whales. And of course, this activity generally doesn't go unnoticed by the most top apex predator of them all, which is man. So you now have a situation where whales and man are competing for the same resource in places like Donegal Bay. So hopefully there'll be plenty left over for the humpbacks and the fin whales that are in Donegal Bay at the moment. This lovely image on the right was of a very close encounter, an unexpected breach. So always important to take care when you're in an area, especially where there are humpback whales, just in case you end up with a 35 to 40 ton animal landing perhaps a little bit too close to a very small boat like a rib. So it's just something to watch out for, but an amazing photo opportunity. I mean, watching a humpback whale in any waters, anywhere on the planet, is watching one breaching is just one of those iconic moments that will stay with you forever. But watching one on your doorstep where you live is an extra special experience. It really is. But here we have a breaching humpback whale. This is one of two humpbacks, and we need to get a slightly different angle on it to tell which it is. And I think Nick Massett is going to talk more about photo ID on Wednesday. But here's just two pictures, which, to most people is just two pictures of a whale and two whales. And, if you're good, you'll be able to tell that they're humpback whales. But in IWDG, we're not just interested in knowing that it's a whale or it's a humpback whale. We want to find out which individual humpback whale. So if we extract the first dorsal fin there, we can actually see it's quite unique. It's very, very different to the second dorsal fin, and it's got very different shape. One is very hooked. One has got a completely different series of white dots and little linear scars. So this is number 89 on top and number 102. And these aren't just random chance encounters of number 89 and 102 on the Irish Humpback Whale Catalogue, because these two individuals were in the same area of Donegal Bay last year. It was a little bit earlier. It was late August. So these aren't just random chance encounters. These are animals that on the feeding grounds show what they call site fidelity. So they are rocking up every year, often with the same cohort. Now, whether they're just mates or whether they're far more likely to be family members, they might be cousins or second cousins once removed, but there is probably a family relationship between these two individual humpback whales. So it's just great to see them not just coming to places where historically humpback whales weren't really ever a thing in Donegal Bay, certainly not since the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group existed back in 1990. I mean, we have almost zero sightings in 30 years of humpback whales or fin whales in Donegal Bay. And in the last 3 to 4 years, it's growing and growing year on year. And of course, that's at the expense of us poor sods down here in West Cork, because we've really struggled this year. And these humpbacks that are showing up now in Donegal Bay are animals that I recognise from West Cork. Nick Massett recognises from West Kerry. They're our whales and we want them back. But it's great to know that they found food elsewhere, because there's certainly no whale food left down in West Cork for them. So if you go back a bit, back to the early days of when the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group was but a pup, you can see we very few, there were years when if we had, 50 or 100 sightings reported to the group, myself and Simon would be cracking open a bottle of champagne nearly and celebrating. But you can see now we're into, we are validating thousands of sightings every year now. And that's really my job, is to validate sightings. And sometimes people think that it's all about me downgrading people's sightings. Like, people might report something mega like a blue whale or a beluga whale or a false killer whale or something. And it'd be my job to say, can we really stand over that record? And if we can't, we find a lower level, a non-species level, and that's how it goes up on our database. But for every one of those, there's a situation where members of the public report something to us and they don't know what it is, but yet they've given us maybe a good video or a good photograph and or a really good description. And then we can say with reasonable certainty, well, in actual fact, you saw species A, B, or C. So it's not just about downgrading. We also upgrade people's records, because people love to know what it is they've seen. And if they're not sure, that sort of feedback is really, really important, because it just encourages people to go out the next time and to continue to report and to report more. So this just gives you an idea of how far the IWDG has come in terms of the numbers of sightings reported to us from you guys, from the citizen scientists out there. And a lot of these sightings are not from specialists, are not from scientists or biologists with IWDG. They're from members of the public while out walking the dog, or climbing on a headland, or out fishing, or sailing a boat, or whatever they happen to be doing. And they have an opportunistic sighting and they report that into us. And we treat those sightings the exact same as any other sighting record that's sent into us. And of course, in the last 35 years, whale watching has become, it's gone from being something on the lunatic fringe, if you like, of the bird watching community to a real standalone activity. And we run events every year like Whale Watch Ireland with support from our core sponsors, Inish. These are wonderful opportunities for people to join the experts in IWDG at multiple sites around the whole country, to join us on a headland or on a vantage point to go looking for whales and dolphins. And just some pictures there of Whale Watch event last year, which was in May, which coincided nicely with Biodiversity Week. And just a nice little montage of people watching. Sometimes people just watching empty seas, and that's the nature of whale watching. I mean, it'll never be an Olympic sport, but when the whale watching is good and you've got great activity, it's absolutely spellbinding. What a brilliant way to pass a couple of hours. Francis, I think you'll agree there up in Loophead. You've seen some amazing things from Loophead.
Yeah, we definitely have. And actually, it was last week, Emma was watching, and you were talking about the humpbacks leaving Cork and passing Kerry. Well, they passed right at the tip of Loophead. Emma had 3 humpback whales. So there you go.
But did she have a photograph?
I don't know, Pádraig. Did she? Did she report it on the IWDG?
She did. Unfortunately, it was one of those sightings where there was no photograph. So anyway, yeah, listen, I mean, a good description or photograph, will generally do it. But yeah, we've got humpback whales now, as would seem. Well, we definitely have humpback whales in Donegal Bay, between Mullaghmore and Sligo and Slieve League, that area. Nick Massett has certainly had humpback whales up to this weekend. Not big numbers, low numbers. There was the humpback whale off Loop Head. And we're still waiting. I mean, the humpbacks have just completely abandoned us because, of course, their only loyalty is to their stomachs. A bit like myself, really. If there's no food in an area because as a species we've just been too stupid and we fished out all our sprat or whatever, that affects not just the whales, but it affects everybody else in the coastal community. Anglers, fishermen, wildlife watchers, whale watchers, people who are passionate about birds. Everything is affected all the way up the food chain once you remove those critical forage fish species. But anyway, so just a couple of bit about the field skills necessary for whale watching, and the very first thing to think about is weather. Now you've got a couple of ducks that you need to line up. So that top left image there, that is the sort of day when you want to pull yourself out of bed and get up to a headland with your binoculars, because that's the sort of day when you're going to see everything. You've got no swell, you've got a calm sea state surface, and you've got limitless visibility out to the horizon. Fantastic.
This week is a great week to go out and look out for whales and dolphins.
You may say that. I would disagree fundamentally. This week down here along the entire Celtic Sea has been rubbish, because all we've had this week is what you get on the lower picture there, which is dense fog and sea mist. And of course, if you can't see the sea, you can't see the animals in the sea that are invariably distant and quite small from a distance. So we've just been riddled with fog. And of course, fog, you can predict most things, but you cannot predict sea fog. It's really patchy by its nature. I know Andrew Malcolm did a watch today of Helvig Head, and he said the same thing. Nick Massett said the same to me yesterday, that the visibility was just very poor. And of course, when you're using powerful optics, sometimes, like especially scopes, when you're looking in poor visibility, the optics of your scope actually magnify the poor visibility. So you're just better off not using any scopes at all when the weather is like that. Obviously, when you've got storms, where you can forget about it. And if you're out in the boat, well, heck, you're going to be too seasick to care what's out there. Dolphins will still probably come to the bow of your boat, the bow ride.
Yesterday at Loop Head, there was bottlenose dolphins. So
were they hiding?
Yeah, with your binoculars, with your naked eye, right in at Loop Head.
Fantastic. Well, you're so fortunate there in Loop Head to have that resident population that I know Mags will be talking about during the week, that come, within meters of the Dermot and Grania there, and they snook in around the corner and bang, they're into the estuary, the home of one of only 4 resident populations of bottlenose dolphins anywhere in Europe. So you guys, no sympathy for you at all. You've got dolphins on your doorstep, and resident dolphins. I mean, lots of us have dolphins on our doorstep, but they're just not resident. And of course, they're also not bottlenose dolphins, so they are kind of special. Oh, here's the optics slide here. I'm not sure what happened to the S there, but for some reason it dropped. But yeah, so you've got 3 different approaches there to using optics. One is the person on one of our whale watching weekend courses. They were trying the binoculars around the crotch area, and it's one thing I've learned over the years, that binoculars tend not to work very well down there. You put them up to your face, they tend to be a lot more effective. The second person there at least has learned from the mistakes of the person in the middle, who's also asleep, dreaming of dolphins. So they've at least got the binoculars up to their eyes. Now, I think that the binoculars are probably the wrong way around, but if she turned them around the other way, she'd have fantastic views there. And the other person is nearly there. They have a scope in front of my telescope, should I say, in front of them, but they're not quite looking through it yet, but they're building up to it. So optics are really, really important if you want to see any sort of wildlife and to see it well. So the man with the beard and the big red coat is coming relatively soon, and I'm not going to mention the C word, but if you want a brilliant present in late December from that man with the beard and the coat. Start writing your letters now, because the earlier you get that letter in, kids, the more likely you are to get a cracking pair of binoculars from the big man with the big white. And it's not me, by the way. I know I'm a bit beardy at the moment. So anyway, yeah, think optics. And obviously then, if you get really into the subject, and it doesn't matter what sort of wildlife you're into, it could be birds, it could be whales, it could be terrestrial animals. But to see wildlife and to see it well, you do need to consider optics. That's my parting tip for the day. Also think of, now you can't get your parents to buy you a headland or a lighthouse for Christmas, but if you are going to go whale watching, you got to think about a really good place to go. So that's why, you know, Francis mentioned Loop Head. Loop Head has a lighthouse and it has a headland. And that's why I always say any headland with a lighthouse on it is 9 times out of 10 going to be a fantastic place to watch for whales and dolphins. So that's always my cue. And we have next slide. We've actually created a coastal whale trail, which highlights 100 sites around Ireland. And we have this, we've a couple of thousand of them printed off with support from our core sponsors, Inish. And these will give you an idea of what in our mind is, or are, the 35 best land-based whale watching sites in Ireland, with tips on the reverse side of how to go about, you know, what, where, and when to go about whale watching. And also they're color-coded by county, so you see at a glance in any one of our coastal counties which species you are most likely to see on a whale watch. So that's our coastal whale trail. Also, about 3 or 4 years ago, we created our reporting app, which is the first dedicated sightings and strandings reporting app in Ireland for, you know, dedicated for cetaceans and basking sharks. So if you haven't got it, it's free to download and get that on your phone. So whenever you have a sighting, you can very quickly just log into it and log your sighting there and then. So I was just curious, the slide on the right there, just looking at who's seen what where, just in the last 10 days since we started the month of November. And you can see there a couple of clusters, but that big cluster is up there in Donegal Bay. So I would say right now, the best hotspot in Ireland is probably first place Donegal Bay. You can approach it from either, you know, any of the sites up on the north side of the bay, on the Donegal side, or Mullaghmore. I know certainly there's some great vantage points from Mullaghmore Head or from St. John's Point in Donegal, all the way out to the highest cliffs up there at Slieve League. You're really spoilt for choice along the entire west coast of Ireland, and Donegal Bay is no different. Basically in the last 7 or 8 days, we've recorded 7 species as well, and they go right up to the second biggest whale on the planet, the mighty fin whale. So we've obviously, every year we gather, obtain and validate and process a couple of thousand sighting records, and they're all made available online. So if you guys ever want to see, you know, in the last week or 10 days or last month, you know, what's been seen where, just go into the, you know, the browse sightings, and you can browse by table or any filter that you make, you can select by map. So you can see the results available right there. At literally after 2 or 3 clicks, you're right in there, and you'll get distribution maps. You can filter by period, you can filter by species, by county, by location. So it's quite a powerful tool. And what we use this data, yeah,
I was just going to say, if you're an IWDG member, and you know, we have like 12 local groups, and there's a lot of activity at the moment on the Sligo and the Donegal groups. They are just discussing what they're seeing. They're doing watches. They're going out on some trips, you know, because of obviously the whale activity there. So yeah, definitely the local groups, they're busy at the moment. Call to action, call to watch, call to report. Lots of reports from them on the IWDG reporting app.
Right, and that's a new development, because back in the day we just had we had the one big membership database, but we never we never condensed it down into local groups. That's a fabulous idea, especially for for events like, live strandings, where you quickly need to get people who've done a couple of IWDG courses. You need to get them on site quickly, and people who have a little bit of training, a little bit of an understanding about the ecology and the biology of these animals, and that's absolutely fantastic. So we use this sightings data to basically, it gives us that big picture as to what species are occurring where and when around the country, and that enables those more scientifically minded than me but it enables them to focus in on certain species and certain geographic areas that say are worthy of further exploration. And that's really the biggest contribution of the IWDG, if you like, the casual sighting scheme. This is the vast majority of sightings that are sent in to us by you, citizen scientists, members of the public, because they tell us where the important areas are at any one time. So if there's research to be done, or there's researchers coming into the country, we can very easily, or if it's IWDG research, we know where the best places are to go at what times of the year to see which species. And that's really important, especially for the likes of filming, for doing filming or natural history work with Irish or overseas production companies. It means we generally can deliver fabulous results. So I just say to any production companies out there, don't leave IWDG out of the loop. We generally are the ones who do the hard pushing that wheel, the elephant work, if you like. So just remember to liaise with us, because sometimes you'll find that working with us can produce better results. So just a quick glance there at our humpback whale catalogue. We now recognise 135 individual humpback whales. That's as of this morning. But who knows, at the rate humpback whales are rocking up in Kerry and Donegal in the last few days, that number is very likely to change, and hopefully it will. We've matched humpback whales right across European waters, as far north as Svalbard, where tourists get eaten by polar bears, as far east as Murmansk as Russia, and down towards tropical breeding grounds. In fact, we've recently matched humpback whales to both the Cabo Verde archipelago off West Africa and to the Caribbean. So it's an amazing result, and I know it was Simon's harebrained idea many years ago, based on some literature review that he did, that our humpback whales were quite likely, according to these Norwegian whalers in the 1930s, quite likely to be going down to the Cape Verde. So Simon reckoned, well, if the Norwegian whalers thought that that's where the Norwegian humpback whales were going, and we're right in the middle of the way there between Norway and Cape Verde, it was a logical expectation that Irish humpback whales were going somewhere similar. So we invested huge energy in terms of time and money and effort, going down over multiple exhibitions down there. I'm not looking for sympathy, because it is an amazing place. But years later, we still hadn't matched any Irish humpback whales. But then, it's a bit like waiting for the proverbial bus. After a while, three arrived. But not only three, we've now matched over a dozen of our humpback whales to the Cape Verdes off West Africa. We've also started to match humpback whales off the Caribbean breeding ground. So you got two main breeding grounds for humpback whales: the Caribbean on the far side of the Atlantic pond, and the Cape Verdes on this side, but a long way south of us, off Senegal, Mauritius, if you like, not Mauritius, Senegal, and Senegal and such like. This is one of our humpback whales. In that early clip you saw there was a wonderful footage of a humpback whale breaching out of the water in that early clip. That goes back to 2010. Here he is, she is here. That whale is number 11, called Hooky, because it was photographed off Hookhead in County Wexford. But we have since documented that whale off Newfoundland, off the French territories in the Canadian Maritimes, and more recently off Bermuda. So another example of, my God, Hookhead to Bermuda, how exotic can you get? And there's just an idea of where, this animal, I'm not saying it's followed this direct route, but you can see at a glance there, that's a big span of Atlantic Ocean that Hooky off Hookhead has travelled between County Wexford down to the Challenger Bank off Bermuda and all the way up to St. John's, Newfoundland. It's these are just amazing stories. And of course, the more we are monitoring these whales using photo ID, is a very simple but effective technique. The more of these stories, these amazing stories we're getting about our humpback whales. So you can see we've now matched. Here's the two populations. Three of our individuals to the Caribbean, but the majority of them we still matched down to the Cape Verdes. So it is really a fascinating story. So years ago, we were always asking the question over a few pints. We'd be asking, where are our humpback whales going? It was the big question, and now the question is kind of more, where aren't our humpback whales going? Because frankly, our humpback whales. When you say our, I have to be careful because they're not born in Ireland. They're not Irish humpback whales. These are humpback whales that are probably either Rastafarian from the Caribbean, or they're half Portuguese, African humpback whales off West Africa. But they are coming year after year to Irish waters, and the same individuals are returning year after year. And it does seem that a lot of our humpback whales are very small. So Irish waters may well be very important for a young cohort of humpback whales, and that makes Irish waters even more important because younger animals are even more susceptible to man-made or anthropogenic threats. I think this is the last slide I'm going to bore you to death with, and this is this fascinating picture taken by quite a few people now off Donegal Bay of a fin whale that looks like it's got one of these circus clown frilly hats on, but it's actually a deformed dorsal fin. And I am hoping that we've started to share these images now with online whale platforms. So we are hoping that somebody will come back to us and tell us who that fin whale is and where it has been seen. Because it just looks crazy whether it's got no dorsal fin or whether it's got 3 dorsal fins. I'm still not quite sure. It could be a case of scoliosis, so it's generated some sort of a spinal deformity. That was a suggestion by Siún Ní up in Mayo, a really good one. It could also be a cause of a ship strike. It could be predation by killer whales, but I don't think so. But we just don't know. So it's amazing. Here we have in Donegal Bay, it was actually seen this morning as well, this really strangely and quirkily marked fin whale, and nobody has seen this fin whale before. I find that remarkable. They're not exactly small animals. These are, they're 70 to 80 feet long. How can you miss it? But if anybody sees this fin whale anywhere, either inside or outside of Irish territorial waters, the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group would love to know about it. And I think that's nearly as much as I have slide-wise. So I hope that gives you citizen scientists just a little idea of what it is we do from the sightings perspective. I know later in the week everybody will be bringing their own elements to this wonderful opportunity, this wonderful science week. So I don't know if there's any questions, or maybe I've said something that's been terribly controversial, Francis or Claire, and you're going to pick me up on it.
I was thinking you could explain the word maybe anthropogenic. You said that, yeah, which might be
man-made. I think I did say straight afterwards man-made, but yeah, any anthropogenic threats are basically man-made threats. So you're talking about, and the big ones would be entanglement and fishing gear. That's probably the number one, especially for those rarer species like the North Atlantic right whale. And we had our first North Atlantic right whale this year, probably over a century. And when I say that, our first one confirmed with a photograph this century, so that's really good. But they're just, if every year the remaining 350 of these North Atlantic right whales on the east coast of the US, where is a tiny number are still living, that's about 350 to 400 of them, but every year they lose about 1% of that population to either the twin evils of ship strike or entanglement and fishing gear. And that's kind of, that's just one too many, you know, that's 1% too many. And it's the old adage that, you know, if your mortality rate starts to outstrip the rate of birth, well then in time the arrow will soon start to point to zero. So we're pretty certain that in our lifetime, that one species of whale that turned up in Donegal Bay this July, the North Atlantic right whale, may well become extinct in our lifetime, which would be an awful shame. But you know, we do need to look at how we fish our waters. We need to look at, you know, and we're involved in lots of projects that are looking at reducing or mitigating these impacts, these man-made threats on whales. So the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group is busy on a number of fronts trying to protect our whales.
Great. So I just want to touch briefly on the strandings, because we also report strandings or have members of the public or citizen scientists reporting strandings through our app. And the importance of that would be, if you do come across something on the beach, to report it and take photographs. Obviously keep safe and don't touch it, but if you can get some photographs from different angles and particularly of the mouth, so I try and identify the species by their teeth, that would be fantastic. And that is all through the reporting app as well for the strandings. And even measurements, if you lay the measuring tape or whatever you have on the sand, try not to measure the actual animal, but along the sand line, that would be a good indication as well of species identification. So that's just to touch on the stranding side as well. So, and we rely on our members of the public and all that for that as well. So,
yeah, I mean, the stranding scheme is just as important as the sighting scheme. And they, you know, if you like, there are two sides to the one coin. And, you know, we wax lyrical about, oh yeah, we've 25 or whatever it is. Some people say 26 species of whales recorded in Irish waters. You know, quite a few of those species, we only know they exist through the stranding records. So strandings give us that more complete picture. And I know in our heads, we think the whole time when we think of strandings, we think of animals that are still alive on the beach. But the vast majority of strandings, well over 90%, are animals that are dead and decomposing on beaches. But even those specimens can often give us really important, you know, what looks to you like a manky carcass of a dead thing that's stinking on a beach, to somebody else, that's a gem and potentially can just give us a ton of information. And you know, every couple of years we get a new species recorded in Ireland because of these specimens that wash up dead or dying on our beaches. So really important to think about strandings as well as sightings.
Great, thanks very much. So Francis, do you want to just touch on in membership? And
so I'm the memberships officer. So, I mean, why would you become a member? Well, I don't know. I think Porg was sold it very well there to become a member. I mean, you know, you can become a member because you'd like to, I suppose, help the environment, become a citizen science. And there's different packages and memberships. There's the family membership, which is a really nice way of joining. It's like 45 euros a year for a family. You get a really nice copy of our blubber book in English and in Irish as well. Nice identification card when you're out at sea or on the edge. It's a nice waterproof card, which is really nice. And you get a copy of our flukes. Our new flukes will be going out soon before Christmas. This is our flukes magazine. You can see here where it shows you all the local groups. Starting County Clare, we've got Kerry, Cork, Waterford, Wicklow, Dublin, Louth, Northern Ireland. We're an All-Ireland group. Donegal, Sligo, Mayo, and Galway. I mean, 12 local groups. And I think that's where the strength lies, in the local groups. So once you join, then you can join the local WhatsApp group if you choose to wish so. And that's really where the action goes on, you know, where they converse, where they, you know, somebody says, I've seen it, you know, I've seen a sighting, you know, I've reported a stranding, ring the group to figure out, you know, with some help and training, you know, they can go down.
Organise headland effort watches as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
And use any of those sites.
Yeah, absolutely. Any of the sites, which actually is on our lovely map that we have, this map here, which is our tear-off map, which is available in, where's our tear-off map available? In quite a lot of centres now. Just here. You can also have an opportunity to sail on the Celtic Mist. there's training courses, live stranding courses, identification courses run by Pádraig. Live stranding courses run by Gemma O'Connor, and sightings courses also run by Pádraig.
Yeah, the sighting courses every year, twice a year, Pádraig, isn't it? In May and September.
Is he still there?
He is.
Oh.
Yeah, they've been very, very supportive, and it's great to support sort of you know, what CCAS are doing. So yeah, it just works very well. But yeah, and I mean it's, you know, they're kind of fixed in our calendar every year. But if any local groups or any organizations, you know, would like to run something, what we've always said is, well, you guys organize it. You know, cover some basic expenses, whatever, and you get the bums on seats. We'll turn up and we'll deliver a half day or a 1 day workshop to your dive club or to your bird watching group or to your corporate or whatever. So, you know, so contact us if you'd like to, you know, if you'd like the IWDG to come into your business or, you know, your group and give a presentation on whales and dolphins. You know, we have a small and modest speaker fee, but it's, you know, we're out there, engage with us. We are very, very accessible.
Yeah, we also we have on our website a lot of information for young families, for children, for students.
Yeah, all the education outreach resources
here, over here. He's rather quiet tonight.
Our intern.
Yeah, our intern over here. Yeah, and what else do we have on our website?
So it just tells you all about, we have our sightings and our strandings, recordings, and our research.
We've got our species identification, which I think is a really nice way of, as you know, as a person maybe starting out.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's brilliant. So I don't know if there's any questions coming in, but yeah. So that's brilliant. Just want to say thanks so much for everybody for joining. Thanks so much, Pádraig and Francis. Yeah. And the session has been recorded and it will be up on the website as well so that you can view it. Our next webinar is tomorrow evening, again at 6 p.m. Same place, and it will be on the topic of research, and the link will be shared online and on our social media from tomorrow.
That's going to be a very good one, I think.
Yeah.
For young students.
It will be
TY
very good.
Students, people in third level.
Very interesting to see what we're actually doing at the moment project-wise and how we can contribute to the conservation of these amazing animals. And then our in-person talk on Friday, I'll just mention that because that is an in-person talk in the Culture in Sweeney in Kilkee. And that would be from 7 to 9 p.m. So there'll be a panel of us that evening for discussion.
That's such a good venue, Culture Sweeney.
Really it is. It's a fabulous.
Yeah, it's going to be a great evening.
Venue.
Yeah, especially for the TY students. I think they'll get a lot from it. Leaving Cert students, anybody third level,
anybody wanting
Friday
to
evening
go down the marine science route, it really gives a good insight.
There'll be plenty of time for questions afterwards.
Yeah,
plenty of time to meet people afterwards for sure.
Absolutely. So that's great. So thanks very much, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye now. Good done.